Greg Miller. Greg Miller. The guy who schmoozes with his best friends Troy Baker and Ashley Johnson. You know, the main characters of The Last of Us 2. You'd have to be insane to take his review for the game seriously. I mean, Greg Miller needs to have a sign on his forehead that says, "I styled Troy Baker's bright blue neon pigtail last week." And stay tuned to the end of the video why I think Greg Miller is an absolute snake. Bragging about being friends with the developer or any actors in the game you are reviewing might be in fact breach of business conduct guidelines. There's a very plausible reason to assume conflict of interest. Details like this need to be fully disclosed to the public. And the problem here is that a lot of reviewers like Greg Miller are not actively stressing that the review is still influenced by their personal feelings. And this goes for any reviewer in general, big or small. You cannot review a game objectively when your income is dependent on that developer giving you free copies. And in Greg Miller's case, being friends with the actors of the game is pretty much the definition of being swayed by personal involvement. And so the reason why I'm making this video is because Greg Miller has said on his incredibly boring podcast that he doesn't know how any other game can win Game of the Year. He said this after playing 2 hours of The Last of Us 2. Yes, you heard me, 2 hours and he's already dribbling all over Neil Druckmann's small penis. I mean, we are only halfway through the year with big releases coming out such as Cyberpunk, Ghost of Tsushima, let alone all the other smaller indie games. And he stated this opinion as fact. This guy has a very narrow-minded view of the world to say that he doesn't understand how this cannot be Game of the Year. And I'm telling you, don't be surprised when the embargo lifts that every gaming journalist will praise The Last of Us 2. They will praise this game into high heaven. Just wait for it. I mean, we're gonna hear words such as brave, strong female protagonist, patriarchy, unique writing, you can jump now. I promise you'll hear all of that. Okay, let's get to why I think Greg Miller is a snake. So, Greg Miller didn't back up his lifelong friend, Colin Moriarty, when Colin made a harmless joke on Twitter. Greg and his group of SJW kinda funny weirdo friends completely turned their backs on Colin over a tongue-in-cheek tweet and threw him under the bus. And when the usual SJW mob came after Colin, he was forced into a position into leaving the company they founded together to go on and create his own stuff under the name Colin's Last Stand. His PlayStation podcast is actually worth a listen, but if you are that worried, that afraid of the SJW crowd, then there's no doubt in my mind that Greg is going to give The Last of Us 2 a thumbs up just to pander to that crowd. Greg Miller had his head so far up his own arse that he threw away a friend that would have been there for the rest of his life. I mean, it's really sad that Greg would let a friendship go like that over a tweet that's really immature. Not only is that immature, but it's also very snaky. I mean, Colin stood up to that garbage with his principle, which made me respect him even more. Say what you want about his opinions, his politics, but he was really the only person that brought a substantial conversation to that show. Now, Kinda Funny is just an echo chamber for its dull dialogue. And on that bombshell, thank you for watching. Manix out.